All right. Hello. Good afternoon. Welcome to Our Place Games. This is the spin-off show of Our Place Out Loud. And on the panel today, obviously, Aaron. I'm a moderator on the app and one of the team panelists on our show Tuesday nights. We have Austin.
Hello.
And we have Jake.
Hi.
We have Brian.
And yeah, I'm Ryan. Do we want to do a little introduction of who we are?
No, first I'm just saying the names, and then you can say whatever you want. And we have Justin.
Woot.
Awesome. All right, so, who are you guys? Let's just, talk about yourselves. Make sure everyone knows who you are. Austin first, why not?
All right. So I'm Austin Dosage. I'm 22 years old. I'm one of the moderators on Our Place. And right now I'm attending college. I'm at UCSB. Don't know how that's relevant. But yeah. And I'm a longtime gamer. I've been playing video games since I was in just about first grade. I started out with the SNES. Started playing games like Mario Kart and side-scrolling Marios. And I'd say one of my favorite games of all time is Super Smash Bros. Melee. I used to be really into that with the competitive scene, and I would play like nonstop, incredibly into it. I don't think I ever got so far into a game as that.
Yeah, and I was there for a lot of that obsession, so he's definitely telling the truth. Jake.
Played a few tournaments together, too.
Oh, yeah, no.
Good stuff.
And I might add, we did pretty well. Jake.
Okay, I'm Jake. Usually I'm back there behind the computer producing the show, but today I'm on the
Techie.
panel, actually.
You
Run a gaming podcast.
I know, I'm kidding.
And you just used the word techie. Okay,
I'm kidding.
So yeah, I'm more of a strategic gamer. Games like StarCraft or Civilization or Anno 2070, which is my favorite game. It's kind of a city builder where you have to manage resources and you have to manage resources, build a city, keep your citizens happy, and then war happens and everything kind of sucks for a while. It's kind of like a life simulator.
Well
that
put.
sounds pretty accurate.
Ryan?
All right, I'm Ryan. I'm 16. I'm on the panel every Tuesday night with these guys. And yeah, my favorite game, I'd have to say, I've got a lot of favorites because I kind of like to lean towards games that are less serious and less strategic, but more just kind of fun to play. But I'm going to have to go with Shaq Fu. It's basically a game about Shaq, like the basketball player, entering the world of Mortal Kombat. He was on his way to the All-Star game. He was late. He walked into a dojo and fell into a portal after some kid that he's trying to rescue, and now he's fighting ghosts because that's what Shaq does. So yeah.
So isn't Shaq Fu considered like one of the most broken games of all time?
No. It's one of the greatest games of all time.
All right.
So what are you talking about?
All right, we'll go with whatever
On
you're
every
saying.
top 10 list. It's a fact.
On every top 10.
IGN
All right.
has it ranked as the most graphically intuitive game of all time.
All right. Justin, let's hear from you.
I'm going to grab this like this so I can still
All
stay
right.
on the camera. Anyway, I was probably a generation before you guys a little bit.
Yeah.
So I definitely remember Shaq Fu, though. That was a good one. Some of my favorites growing up, which I actually don't have clips for them right now, but there's a great NES game called Kung Fu where you are a Kung Fu specialist and you're going through fighting random things like bees and villains. That's a good one. NBA Jam.
Yes.
Classic.
Boom shakalaka.
So good. Along with that, NFL Blitz is another good one. And then Tekken is probably one of my favorite games. Tekken 3 specifically is probably one of my favorite games of all time. So
Justin,
that's
my text tone whenever I get a text is the Boom Shakalaka quote from NBA Jam.
nice.
So it's the greatest thing.
That's awesome.
Oh god.
That's
All right,
great.
Aaron. So now we'll go to you, I guess, right?
All right. Well, I mean, I already gave you a bit of an introduction to me, but in terms of games, I've been playing for as long as I can remember. I learned to read playing the original Pokemon Yellow version. So that was a birthday gift, and that got me started on RPGs. I love RPGs, and I play. The World Ends With You is one of my favorite games of all time, which is an action RPG from Japan. Square Enix made that one. Amazing art, amazing story, amazing music, amazing gameplay. It's just one of my all-time favorite games. But I play a bit of everything. I play RPGs. I play Pokemon. I play a lot of stuff from Japan. I play a lot of the Mario series. Play a lot of the Zelda series, obviously. and I played Smash Bros with Austin. So all around, I guess you could say, a lot of varied interests. But enough about us. I mean, like, we're just telling you all this so you know where we're coming from. We all have different interests. We all view games a little differently. So let's start viewing some games. Today we have 3 games on our list. We have first off, we have BeatBuddy, a cool sort of indie music-based puzzle action game. We have Urban Trials Unleashed, which is sort of a stunt bike 2-dimensional racing kind of game. Very very cool. Multi-platform, so we'll get to that later. And then Guncraft is the final game, and that's sort of the big Minecraft boom. It's on the tail end of that. It's a first-person shooter based in sort of Minecraft world.
I think I'd have to say that Guncraft is kind of the panel favorite, though. That's kind of
I'd say that we spent the most time with that collectively, but we're gonna keep on the edge of your seat for that one. We're gonna hit that one last. All right, so I think we'll start off with BeatBuddy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So due to technical constraints, only 2 of us were actually able to play and beat the game, but we have a lot to say about it. So as you can see, we have some gameplay up on the screen right now.
By the way, those 2 were Austin and Aaron.
Yeah,
not to be confused.
Austin and Aaron, Austin and I, we played together, and in total it was about roughly 6 or 7 hours. It's a very music-based game. As you can see, everything's sort of moving in time with a rhythm. And if you could hear the game right now, you would see that everything's moving in time with like this fantastic electro swing soundtrack. Because the soundtrack is really the highlight of the game, the soundtrack and the art.
And there's a good amount of variety within the soundtrack as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's not all techno swing. It's all techno-based, but some fantastic vocal tracks, some fantastic pure electronic tracks, very interesting things going on.
And if I'm not mistaken, they won awards for visual and like audio, like awesomeness.
Absolutely. Intel backed them up all the way on that, and they helped them develop some really cool sort of audio technology that binds itself to the actions in the games, which makes the entire the beat of the song, because each level is its own song, it's its own track. And the things you interact with in the game develop that track, and it's not something I've really seen done before, and it works in mixed ways, but it's always very entertaining.
Well, something you were telling me about earlier was how it's not like most music-based games where you're playing with the music and controlling it, but more you're fighting against the music.
Right, exactly. Because the world is the song. You're not sort of creating it; it's just there, but the game world functions on that logic, the logic of the song. You have to figure out, okay, well, if the song is this beat and every other beat this happens, I must move on this beat to avoid the trap that happens on this other beat, right?
So the song controls what's going on around you, and your goal is to work within the parameters of that song, rather than some games where what you do actually creates the song.
Exactly. I mean, it's not like Guitar Hero where your actions dictate what sounds activate or whatever.
All right, cool.
One example is a stream of projectiles might be constantly flowing towards you, and let's say on the beat they won't hurt you, but off the beat they do.
Oh, okay.
So you have to time it so that you have to dash forward through the stream of projectiles right on the beat so you don't get hit by them. And if you accidentally hit it off the beat, then you just get kind of crushed.
Is something like that fairly doable, or is the gameplay in terms of the controls, are they intuitive? And
well, let's talk about it first off. So the world is based on music. Yeah, we have that covered. But how is the actual gameplay? How is it done? The entire game is underwater. Every world, all 6 worlds, which are separated in 6 parts each or whatever, they are all underwater. Never once are you side-scrolling on land, because it's a side-scrolling underwater thing. You can move in any direction you want. But because it's underwater, there are some obvious physics weirdness, because you can't just move forward and stop. Right. There's going to be some momentum. You're going to keep going a little bit, and you bounce off things, because that's just how water works.
Is there a reason it's underwater? Is that ever told in the storyline? You just kind of end up there.
Yeah, I mean, the storyline doesn't really a thing.
It doesn't really. Okay.
It doesn't really a thing.
It's there. It's not the biggest focus.
Yeah, there is a storyline, but it's the very, very beginning. There's a cinematic, which seems like it makes sense until you actually play the game and realize it's got almost nothing to do with the actual
So it doesn't
game.
explain at all why you're underwater.
Oh, no. I mean, it's welcome to the world of this magical musical place. Go save it. And so you do. And it's not really
well, you guys did. Jake and I didn't get a chance to save it.
Yeah. But It's like I said, separated into different worlds, but they're all underwater, and it's all hand painted, which is kind of cool.
that's
Like
cool.
it's all
That's
hand drawn worlds. The visuals really are. You're never once are you bored with what you're looking at.
Worthy of those awards that they
Yeah,
got.
absolutely.
Definitely.
Like the music and the visuals, every award they won, they totally deserved, and I backed them up all the way. Very impressed. It was a small team that developed the game. Originally, it was just 3 guys, which became, more as time goes by. But it never hit like even close to like 50 people. Even it was like not even 20 maybe.
And so Intel hopped on that and helped them with funding, right?
Right, like they hopped on. They gave them some technological boosts. They gave them some money, some funding, some backing, some media buzz, and got some very good press. People were very interested in how the music would correlate, and they were always very impressed with the soundtrack. But because of the underwater sort of physics, certain things that should be easy aren't. Like it's sometimes it's hard to time how things will move.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, as an example, like there are 2 kinds of ways that you move in this game. One way you're just yourself, just swimming through the water. The other way is you're in a vehicle, and the vehicle always moves to the beat. So instead of moving just in a constant stream of motion, you move in jumps. So it's like beat, 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 and then if you press your dash button, then you can dash like twice as far. So you could.
But only every other beat.
Right, only on the 2nd and 4th beat, so it could be like 1 dash, 2 dash. So that's the fastest you can move in your vehicle.
However, if you miss that beat, then you're screwed. I mean, like you don't have access to the dash until the next off beat.
So quite a lot of the gameplay mechanics are heavily integrated with the music, right?
Right, but that's to its detriment at times because like that dash mechanic we were talking about, how it pushes you every other beat.
Mm-hmm.
If you manage to do it, you can only probably get like 2 or 3 dashes in a row before the dashes force you to be off beat, which then results in you not being able to dash for a while.
And so the dash is basically you moving faster than you normally would. But what happens if you make contact with something? Does that affect you?
Oh, right.
in
Well,
any
okay.
way?
Well, there in the vehicle segments, that's when you have every other beat is a dash. But when you're just like BeatBuddy, because the character is BeatBuddy, even though they don't really.
So we think.
Yeah, they don't really tell you that, but your character is called BeatBuddy, and he just swims around and he like punches people. But
Is he human?
there are no humans.
They're all ethereal beings, I believe they're called.
Ethereal beings.
Okay.
Your character's an
Right.
ethereal being. Everyone else just looks like you, but I guess isn't an ethereal being. But yeah, you just swim around and you pick stuff up and you punch things and you dash, and that's like that's what you do.
Minecraft. Swim around, punch stuff. You just punch rocks until they break.
Sure.
Sure. But so the downside is yes, you have freedom of movement, much greater freedom of movement when you're not in a vehicle because the vehicle moves along with the beat and dashes every other beat. You can dash whenever you want. You can move in whatever direction you want to move. But it's not very fast unless you're dashing. Problem with dashing is if you're moving in a direction, you can't change your direction until the dash is over. And if you hit anything, like it doesn't have to be like a head-on wall. You can be on an angle or whatever. You're going to stop. Like it's going to stop your movement and push you backward. It's possible to like lose progress you've made going forward because you dashed.
And how long is a dash? Is it like you just kind of hit the button and you go for like a second, or what does it look like?
Yeah, like half a second dash.
Basically.
Okay, so it's kind of like a.
Yeah, and if you hold it down, you'll actually start running, which is pretty fast, and it's useful in big open areas, but there really aren't a lot of big open areas.
Here's a quick dash for you guys.
All right.
Or look like it.
Oh, wow, that's from like a really early build of the game. Like that, what you just saw is not the final art. That's not the final art that you just saw. But yeah, like that's sort of what the dash is like.
All right.
Well, one of my issues with the moving and the dashing is that, like I said, let's say there's a stream of projectiles and then you have to time your dashes through it. Well, independently of the dashes that are on the beat, you're just moving sort of independently of the beat. So like, let's say if I'm moving towards like a wall of projectiles, I might have to temporarily stop so then I can dash and then be on the beat. Whereas if I just keep moving, then the timing won't work, and then I'll just hit the wall of projectiles.
So sometimes you have to like coordinate when you're going to be off beat.
Right, so that's another example of how it's working against the music in a way as opposed to with the music.
Okay.
It's like the enemies and the whole environment is kind of in sync with itself, like by music, whereas you are sort of...
You're like an outsider. You're an outside force, kind of.
Okay, so you're
Yeah.
coming into this world. Okay, that makes sense.
So
Right.
when you're a person, you feel like outside of the beat, you can't just get in that perfect sync where you dodge all the obstacles. But when you're a vehicle, you feel kind of constrained by it.
Right, because like when you're in a vehicle, moving along with the beat sort of helps with certain puzzle elements because it means that if you move, like if you dash on the second beat, it's going to work because that's just how it's designed, how it's set up along with the song. But when you're just out on your own, but where that's bad for the vehicle is when you have like these segments where like you have to move in time with chains of enemies with a small gap, and you fit into that gap, and you move along with them, but their movement is bigger than yours or shorter than yours, even though they're moving along with the same beat you're moving in. And you can't just move when you want to move. You got to move with the beat. So you have to compensate and maybe not move on a beat when you could have, and then dash the next second beat you can. So it does not flow the way it should.
And another reason that when you're in the vehicle, you'd probably rather move not on the beat. It would be a lot more free because there's some parts where you have to shoot down enemies with your vehicle, and you have to line up the shots. And since you can only move like in bursts, sometimes you want to move in between, like where it would have you move,
Which
to
is
find
very
a good
hard.
shot.
Very hard.
So
Very hard to do. And like the bullets are, they're bullets. They're small, so you're not gonna.
It's not easy.
Sometimes it's gonna be hard to hit things, yeah. But the vehicle segments aren't. There aren't a ton of them.
It's
Like
not the main focus.
No, like they're in every level, but there's only one level where they're like a major element.
Is it optional? Like, do you see a vehicle and
No,
you're like,
you have to.
you
do
have to
it.
get in?
You've
Okay.
got to get in. The one nice thing though that I loved about the vehicle segments is that when you're in the vehicle, it puts all of the sound elements you've been hearing through the level into the actual song. It's still a loop, and like sometimes that can be grating, but it's nice to finally hear all the little bits and pieces come together into something really cool.
That's cool.
But of course, when you get out, it's like bits and pieces again.
But does the loop ever help you, like, in terms of like learning what's gonna come and what happens when, or is it too?
Yes
similar?
and no. I mean, like it depends. It totally depends.
for some enemies, like the snails that shoot projectiles, like
oh
they
god.
might, like every one of their projectiles is like a note on the guitar. So like let's say there's a guitar riff, like, where it goes like ding ding ding. Then if you can remember how that guitar loop is going to happen, then you know exactly where the bullets are going to come in.
And when to move.
Okay,
Exactly.
so it can help you.
However, if you have a lot of those crab shooty dudes and they're all firing at like different parts
Oh, they
of the
fire
song,
different beats. Okay.
right? Exactly. They fire different beats, different guitar licks, different keyboard licks, and you have to figure out which one individually corresponds to which sound,
That
and then
makes
you have to decipher which sound and when to move. And like if you look at it, it's just it's this big mess of bullets. Like you don't know, you can't figure out when to move.
So at that
So-
point, you're kind of just working visually. and
right,
avoiding what you
exactly.
see.
At that point, it's
Yeah.
useless. Like listening to the song would just confuse you more.
Okay.
Yeah, they got maybe a little overzealous at times.
Yeah.
But back to the freedom of movement thing. So when you're outside of the vehicle, dashing is a lot more free and movement is a lot more free. But when you dash, like I said, you hit a wall, you hit anything that sort of ends your movement and pushes you backwards. If you hold down dash and you start like moving really fast, just in general, like a run, same deal. If you hit something, you still bounce back whenever else. But so you can't just like swim up through a pipe along the wall. That won't work because you'll hit the wall continuously and just bounce back a lot. And you can't really angle yourself very well while you're dashing because you're moving faster. So it's more it's bigger loops if you're turning. You know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like a boat moving slowly will turn pretty quickly, but
Right.
yeah.
Well, here's what's been like bugging me for a while that I've been wanting to ask is when you said there was like 6 levels or something like that.
Yes.
So you go through these 6 levels, but what's the difference between each one? Are they progressively harder? Is it faster paced? Is it just something new because they couldn't
Well, it's hard to say.
Kind of
Like,
a
the,
new
the
song.
first 3, I'd say each one successfully introduces a new gameplay element.
I'd say the first 3 are also a lot more puzzle focused. There are
Yeah.
a lot of these parts where there are these mirrors that you have to rotate in order to ultimately bounce yourself off of them, then maybe like break down an obstacle. And
Okay.
the second half, there were definitely some puzzles, especially towards the end. There was a really big puzzle.
which is
but-
actually pretty good, I think. The one of the big last ones.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think the last 3 levels are more about actions that require like very specific timing, or just like you knowing the level really well and then getting through a segment of it, say like carrying an item and you're timed. Like there are a lot of these segments in the game where like you pick up a bomb and then you have to bring it to its place, and
If you
like
if
you're
you-
timed to that whole part. So
right.
because it's going to explode, obviously.
And if you can't make it, like if you know there's no way I can make this, you just have to wait for the bomb to explode.
Oh, you
and
can't
have
put it down or anything?
You can put it down, but if you can't do anything. Like
Oh,
you
you
can,
can't.
yeah, like you can drop it, you can do whatever with it, but it's not going to be reset until
That's
it
an
blows up.
annoyance.
Oh, that reminds me of another mechanic, which is carrying objects. Like it's
Oh my
there are
god.
only a few inputs in this game. We should probably go over. There's movement, then there's attacking, dashing, and interacting with objects. And then there's also this sound thing you can toggle, but that's not used that much. So it's mainly movement and then the 3 buttons. And for interacting with objects, what you do is you pick them up and you have to move things from one place to another in order to activate, say, a door or something. And while you're doing that, you have to hold down the interact button in order to hold on to it. But then if you attack an enemy, you drop that object.
And if you get
or-
hurt, you drop that object.
Well, does it
Right.
fall off the bottom, or can you go and get it? Like I
Yeah,
said?
no, like if it drops, you can catch it.
Oh, okay.
But like it's annoying.
All right. Well, all right.
Anyway, I mean, yeah, like it has some issues, but like when it works very well.
Mhm.
It's just like the moments are few and far between.
So it's mixed. It's mixed from you.
It's a very mixed experience.
If you had to put it on 1 to 10, what do you think you'd give it?
Well, that's a good question. I'd say
Let's do like 0 worst game of all time, 10 best. But then like if we're at 5 is like an average game, not like because 50%'s a fail usually, But 5, let's call that average.
yeah,
All right.
no, like five I'd say is an average game, but like whether or not you want to spend your time with it is questionable, right? So let's think about what BeatBuddy is. Austin, what are your thoughts?
Okay, for me, I definitely enjoyed the game. I mean, it definitely did have issues also. There were some frustrating parts, and especially the escort mission. But I'm definitely glad I played through it once. And for that, I'm going to give it, tentatively for now, I'll say 6.1-ish out of 10.
61
being
out of
average.
100.
So
All
definitely
right.
on the good side. Definitely the good side.
Okay, all right, yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I mean, like there were a couple parts that I played through that were just really frustrating because I felt that sometimes the game thought that if it was annoying, that would be challenging as opposed to challenge being, the puzzles themselves.
See,
or
that
like
kind of thing
whatever.
just makes me mad. That's
Right,
all
no,
does.
it made me mad too. And like at one point, I even wanted to stop playing, but
Yeah.
I gotta finish it. I gotta get through it. And so I don't know. I'd say 6 is probably pretty fair because like the art is great, the music is fantastic, and I love that these guys, just these 3 guys had a dream and they put it together. And
And there were some very good puzzles, especially I think it was either level 2 or level 3. Like, I could have been playing something made by, like professional developers who have been doing this like their whole lives and who are like world famous. Like, it was very good puzzle design.
absolutely,
Well,
I totally agree.
And before we transition, we said it was like $15, right?
Yeah, no, it's
Is it
definitely-
worth? Is a game that's only a 6 out of 10? Is that worth $15 to you?
Right, like that's something I was thinking about earlier. Like if it ended up being like a 6 or a 5 or whatever, like what does the price sort of dictate? But I'd say if it's at $15, it is just worth your time. It is just barely. It's on the cusp. It passed.
So
Go-
it's about worth $15.
Right, like go play it once.
But you're not gonna play it again. All
Right, you're not gonna play it again.
I'd say considering that that it's worth playing once, 15 is a pretty fair amount. I would say I'd rather go more towards the 10 range, but I also say that if this game went on Steam, I would recommend checking it out for a Steam sale.
Agreed. If you can get this on Steam sale, definitely pick it up and play through it once. And I'm excited to see what these guys do next because I think that they've got some great ideas and they got some
Definitely.
they got some good people working alongside with them to make their dreams come true. And
Hopefully they hear the feedback.
yeah, no, I hope they do. I hope that they do hear the feedback. And I know a lot of people in the industry do like what they did. So hopefully, they'll have a sequel and next time around.
It'll elaborate on those flashes of
yeah,
brilliance.
exactly. Anyway, we are Our Place Games. Thank you for listening in. And remember, all of this that you're hearing live, if you're hearing it live, we're going to be editing some of this together, and you can hear 3 different, probably, mini episodes that condense our views on the 3 games that we're doing today later. You can find that on our YouTube channel, which we will talk all about later.
And quick announcement, if I may, before next show, I don't know when it's gonna be yet. I don't know exactly when, but Jake and I have a project we've been working on for a really long time.
Oh.
I started it about 3 years ago, early 2010, and it was on and off. But it's a handheld portable GameCube, not pocket size, sadly, but rounding off all the original GameCube hardware. What?
Like this big? Like it's like this big?
I think it's 9 inches tall by 5 inches wide and 2 inches deep,
Like-
or no,
like-
1 inch deep.
It looks like a Game Boy Color kind of.
It's basically in the shape of a Game Boy Color, and you got it's gonna run off of SD cards, so you don't have to use any discs. And so we're gonna be presenting that for the first time. around a month from today on the next show. And so definitely tune in if you want to see that.
Oh yeah, I've seen a little bit of it, and I'm so excited. I want to hold that thing. I want to play that. All right, so our next game is Urban Trial Freestyle. So Austin and I unfortunately did not. We weren't able to play the game due to technical limitations, but
It's the flip side of BeatBuddy, basically. We got one, they got one.
exactly. So why don't you guys tell us a bit about your experience with the game?
You want to start off, Jake?
Okay, it's one of those games where you like to sit down and play it. It's not innovative or crazy, but it's just fun to play. You sit down, the graphics are good. I got mine for the 3DS. It's also for the PlayStation 3 and the PS Vita, right?
Exactly.
It's just a fun game. It's in 3D, but it's not.
And it's downloadable, by the way, for
Oh,
all
it's- yeah,
systems. For
yeah.
all systems, yeah.
And it's not intrusive with the 3D like some games where it's like, hey, look, we have 3D. Let's throw it in your face. It just helps if you see right now, the environments are very three-dimensional, so to see them in an actual 3D is really helpful because your player's right in the middle of all this action, right? And it's you drive this motorcycle, you do flips, you do crazy things. It's not it's not going to revolutionize the gaming industry.
We've seen it
but
before.
Yeah, it's a
But it's
very
well made.
fun game.
Oh yeah, like it's like Ryan just mentioned, it's kind of derivative, right? I mean, like there are things that came before it that did basically what it's doing now.
I mean, it seems like a genre of games which is just you're on a motorcycle, do tricks, and don't fall. Kind of comes out all over the place. And it's definitely great when a game is well made like this one was. I don't have a 3DS, but I played it briefly on Jake's. And the little bit of games I played on there in 3D tend to have annoying qualities. What was the Kirby one that I played?
Oh, it was a remake of an old game that they made into 3D.
oh, that's a
And the
Kirby Adventure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the game was fine, but the 3D was hurting my eyes. This 3D was, it's what I would imagine when someone says I have a three-dimensional gaming system. It perfectly put your player in perspective with the rest of the world, and it wasn't intrusive, but it wasn't too far back. And the controls were intuitive. It was really simple. One button's accelerate, one's reverse, brake, and then you just have your slider to control the orientation of your player on the screen. So it was really fun. I definitely recommend it. But again, it seems kind of like a repetitive thing that's come up a lot. And like Jake said, you want to sit down and play it. I'd love it for my iPhone. Like a game like
Yeah.
that on my phone, I just pull out my phone and play on it. I'm not sure I would want to play it on a PS3 or that's what you said?
PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita. The
Yeah.
Vita makes sense.
Well,
but
yeah, the Vita's but I'm not sure I'd want to play that like sit down at home and actually boot up a whole console for that.
Right, like a PS3 version seems maybe a bit silly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I played it really briefly, and I kind of get what you're saying. It's mission based, right?
Yeah, to
there
an
are several
extent.
different tracks, yeah. And there are several different. You go from
Objectives.
level to level to level, and each level has several different tracks.
Which has
Okay.
objectives, so height, reaching a certain height,
Yeah.
speed that you're trying to accomplish, time.
So is there a good amount of variety between levels?
The environments are very varied, but it's obviously just don't fall off, right? But they keep adding more and more things. In the beginning, you just kind of drive, and then you go up, and then you go down, right? But later on, you're jumping from thing to thing, and things are like flying. And they have a few things where there's destructible environments where they go on something and it breaks and you fall. So eventually, it gets varied, but it's one game. You don't want to play it for several hours. You'll get bored.
If you look at the one we have on the screen right now, I agree with that. You can see that there's a lot of well, it just went away, but basically there was a level I was playing on Jake's, and it was basically a construction site, and so you're jumping off all these things, which every game has, but not all of them have swinging crates in the sky, that are hanging from cranes. So you land on that, it brings you over, and there's a certain timing element to it to land on those things and stuff like that. But it's easy enough that it's fun because it's just a sit down and play when you're bored game, when you're waiting for something. But it's difficult enough that it poses a challenge, and you're not just going to get really bored of it. At the same time, what you guys were asking about the variety of it, though, I mean, you really just have a limited amount of shapes that you can paint over with different things. One's a car, and then you take that same shape and you paint it as like a box. So
Yeah.
it's for the most part, any game like that I think is going to have a limited amount of things you can do. But they did a pretty good job making the most of what they have.
Oh yeah, like visually speaking, it looks pretty interesting and pretty
Yeah.
like it compels you to see what the next stage is going to look like, right?
Definitely.
Mhm.
All
definitely.
right, which I think is kind of important for a game that sort of has like a very sort of do this again and again and again premise. And like
the physics look really nice from what I'm seeing there. Does it
They
feel,
are.
does it feel good?
Yeah,
Mhm.
gravity feels great. Landing on things feel, it's like it seems like it's the way it would be. Some motorcycle games I've noticed you can like land on your handlebars and then just go back on your wheels without falling off.
Yeah.
This one's pretty realistic. If you're too far forward, you're falling off.
Mhm.
all right, that's pretty good. And I noticed like there's a lot of moving elements in the stage.
Yeah, and that was great. That was really fun to play
Mhm.
with.
Oh yeah, I mean, because like I know that a lot of other similar games that I've played, it's been sort of like go through this course and go do loops, and like it was cool, but like this one seems like I don't know, more like you're going through a place that's lived in. you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
A real world scenario.
Right, which I think is pretty neat.
And when I was in elementary school, my school started doing this. I think it was in 5th grade. We started doing this like Mac testing program. So they gave a couple of the computers, a couple of the classes. Each student or 2 students would share a MacBook, and it was a really cool program. They wanted to see if it was better than having a bunch of desktops everywhere. And eventually, people started downloading games on them. And there was this one game called Exato.
I've heard of it.
And it was great, and everyone played it. And there was like one kid at the school who knew how to design levels, and he wouldn't teach anyone else, and everyone was so mad. But that's not the point. It was totally 2D. It wasn't flat. They didn't try and create the idea of being 3-dimensional,
right.
and that was still a great game. But now that even when you flip the switch on the 3DS to be like 2D, but it's still got that perspective element to it, and that idea that things are further back.
Right.
It's such a nice change, and it looks really nice. I mean, visually, that game is just awesome.
Right, like the track isn't the world is the track. Like
To an extent, I mean, you still have to go linearly and stay
Oh,
on
yeah,
that
no,
little
there's like
track,
a lot-
but
there's
there's
like
so
a
much
lot-
to see.
Yeah, there's like a whole world out there. and all-
Exactly.
Exactly.
And Justin was saying it'd be great if you could make a turn and go into that world.
Oh,
And if they had optional tracks to take, you could go.
Yeah.
You encounter a city, you can go to, but you can turn this way and go out to a farm, or turn this way
Yeah.
and go through the construction.
I like that. That's a good idea. I hope you're listening, developers. But yeah.
If you're thinking about making a game like this, definitely put that in there.
So from what I'm hearing, it sounds like the game does exactly what it set out to do. It doesn't sound like it's like trying to be the next Halo or anything, but it's something that'll be fun to play and just succeeds at what it tries to do.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Exactly.
that's it. If we're gonna say that, if we say this game's great, we're not saying it's great in comparison to Halo, because they're 2 totally different things.
Right.
But it's
Yeah.
in terms of setting out accomplishing what it set out to do, and being a great. I'm sitting in the doctor's office waiting for my doctor to pull out my DS and play a short quick game. Then it definitely accomplished that.
Yeah. And I think the fact that it's a download title probably helps.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't like paying a lot of money for little games that I only play a little bit, and like getting an actual thing I have to bring around. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd rather just have it like down. I'm like, oh, I want this. All right, beep, and then it's there. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like it's like because they're short missions.
Yeah,
you know, like,
exactly.
yeah, so just like, I'm like you said, like I'm the doctor's office. I got like 10 minutes. Okay, I'll do like 2 missions, then put it away. It's really easy,
Mhm.
and it's just there on your SD card. So that's
Exactly.
Great. Yeah,
Exactly.
fantastic. And like I said before, it's a little derivative. Like there's lots of games like it. But how would you like comparatively speaking? Like, would you rather play this one over another similar game?
That's tough. For me, I think that this is definitely one of the top games like this I've played. Like I said, Exato has kind of like that nostalgic feeling to it because I played it when I was younger, but it's also really well made because that's Exato. Because
Oh, I remember that. Oh my gosh.
and so you can see how terrible it was, but
Oh
it was
my God.
but it was so fun because everyone could make levels, just not at
Oh
my
my
school.
God.
So you'd play all these.
I like how the guy's like made out of paper.
Oh,
It's like
exactly.
flipping.
And the way you change direction, you hit space, and he just flips like that. And I mean, it was just great. The gravity was terrible in that game. You could drag like that. You could go through things. Like, look at this. You'll see. You can do that. I mean, but it was so fun. So in terms of being realistic, oh yeah, this one beats this by a long shot. There was one level where we had to like go underground and then like drive up an elevator shaft or something by like pinning your wheels against it. It was so in Exmoto. So those are probably my top 2 games like this is Exmoto and this one. I mean, they were both great.
But like something I noticed when I was because I did briefly play your game, Urban Trial, is that as wacky as the game that we just saw was, Exmoto was, this game is still really wacky. Like Urban Trial, like has a similar sense of humor where it's like, the things you're doing in this game, like the developers are thinking, the things you're doing in this game are very silly and impossible. So let's play that up. And like the guy you play as is like wearing this ridiculous bandana, and like sunglasses. You can't even see his face. And like,
Right. No, I mean,
Yeah.
it just toned it down a little from Xmoto's perspective in terms of being paper mache, flipping back and forth,
Right.
and falling down brick walls while like driving up elevator shafts. You're not doing any of that.
No, but like it's not that far off though.
Right. No,
Yeah.
but it's definitely more serious.
Yeah, absolutely. It's more serious, but it's still like whack. I mean, like you'll do flips and like your guy will go spread eagle on like some girder flying
I
by.
think that balance though is the thing that makes it really good is that they found the balance between being able to joke around with it but still have a game that's actually
it takes itself seriously.
and
While
accomplishment to
being
beat.
silly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So, I mean, here's the big moment. What on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you guys put this?
I'd probably go with 7 point something
7 points.
because it's not gonna change anything. It's not the best game of all time, but it says we're gonna be a fun game, and then it's a fun game. There's not much more you can ask.
Well,
from it.
in terms of being like that, a good game like that, don't you think it accomplished that though? Like, I mean, if they set out pretty fully, but didn't they accomplish what they?
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay.
Yeah. No. I
That's
think
why it's like a 7 point something. It's far above average, but it's not the best game of all time. It's
Alright.
just a fun game to play.
Like,
All right.
Like it's aesthetically innovative, but not game-wise innovative. Maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna say it's a 9.
Whoa.
The reason I say that is because, like I said, I'm not comparing this to Halo or GTA 5 or any of those games, but in terms of these 2D and now 3D side-scrolling motorcycle games, it's one of the best I've played. So that it definitely ranks up there on the top of these games. Now, if you ask
And
me to compare,
is it good for the price?
Because the price right now for Urban Trials, at least on the PlayStation Vita, is $9.99, and I think it's the same for the 3DS.
I think that's a really good value for it.
Oh yeah, that's great.
I mean, I don't know. I have an iPhone, so I'm used to things being 99 cents. But that's a great price for it. Yeah. So I mean, like I was saying, I'm not comparing it to anything that's ridiculously innovative, but just in terms of accomplishing what they set out to do, they did just that.
So I think I found a game to compare it to. Apparently, there's a game called Motorbike on Mac, and it looks like this.
Yeah.
And it's very similar. And apparently, people say it's kind of cool, but it looks kind of the same style, except a little different. But you can go like backwards and stuff. Looks
Yeah, you
pretty
can't
crazy.
do that in Urban Trials,
No,
but
you can move backwards in Urban Trials.
well, not like
but there's
jump backwards.
No, there's nothing to do backwards in
Yeah.
Urban Trials. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so if you're looking for motorbike games, there's another one that it looks like to try out because it seemed kind of fun also.
But definitely check that one out, Urban Trials, if you get the chance. I'd say at least.
Yeah. It's a Urban Trial Freestyle. So go get that game, Urban Trial Freestyle. All right, so we are Our Place Games, and we are on our final game of the day, and I think this is going to be the big one. This is the one that we've all played, and Jake actually went out and purchased himself.
For a lot of time. I mean, we were playing online with each other. I lapped you guys 5 times in a race. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
All right. So before we go into talking about what you can do in the game, let's talk about what the game is. This is Guncraft. And right now this is just for Windows, but they're planning versions for Mac and also Linux.
Linux.
yeah.
Yay.
I mean, you can see just from looking at the screen, it's got a similar look to Minecraft. It's Guncraft. It's basically Minecraft with guns. There's a lot different changes. Crafting's not the same. The graphics are good. They don't look like Minecraft, which is ridiculously amazing for an 8-bit type looking game.
Right. Like the textures are a little bland, but I think that they are working on like adding texture packs and stuff like that.
It's new. It's fairly new.
Right. It's very new. The community is still growing, still very sort of in its early stages. But one of the nice things about Guncraft is that it takes its inspiration, which is clearly Minecraft, and it uses that to to just amazing uses it in amazing ways. It gives you a level editor that also functions as a gun editor.
Yeah, that part's cool.
And a prefabrication editor. I'll explain all this later. So a gun editor, a prefabrication editor, and to an extent a skin editor as well.
Well, the 2 parts that were my favorite of that was one, of like all the things you just mentioned. One was the prefab editor.
Well, let's explain what those are.
Yeah, so the prefab editor is basically the idea that you can build a object, be it a building, a bunker, a wall, a tunnel, whatever you want to build. You build it prior to the game start, and assuming you have the resources and the money to build it in the game, you can then hit just one button that just starts the building process. So you don't have to sit there and place each block manually.
Right.
You have these prefabricated objects saved to your inventory.
Right. It spawns bit by bit something you built before.
Yeah, so it doesn't just like appear and it's not that overpowered or broken. It slowly builds it. but it's really useful, especially because you can leave and come back to it and it'll be done.
Exactly. I mean, like, you could build, if you wanted to, like, a tower, which would then give you a great vantage point to take out your enemies with, and just, like, put that in the middle of the map, have it go all the way up after you've earned some money, of course.
Because you
to build
can
it with.
snipe. You can snipe.
Oh, yeah. No, you can absolutely snipe, because this is a first-person shooter game in a sort of similar vein to Team Fortress 2.
Yeah.
Because, like, it has a whole class system. Oh, that's another thing. You can also edit the classes as well.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. It lets you edit what gun you have.
The giant eagle.
Oh yeah,
there was a gun that was just an eagle that you just held, and it just fired lasers, I think. But it took up like half the screen because someone decided they were going to make a giant eagle, size it down to fit like 1 foot in your hand, and then all over the screen.
Actually, let's explain that. So the reason that there was an eagle gun isn't because they built an eagle gun; it's because they let you build an eagle gun.
Yeah.
To an extent, though, because you guys were explaining to me, I didn't figure this out on my own, that you build a gun, but the community has to vote on it.
Right.
And so it's not, is this gun, like, good or bad or appropriate. I think it was originally so that people weren't making, like, inappropriate weapons. But now it's kind of become, if the community doesn't really like it, you can't play with that gun, even if there's nothing wrong with it.
Right. No, although there are certain things that, like, there are mistakes that get made a lot when you're building a gun that you just forget about, that people deny you for. Like, you have to have a space on the gun that allows you to identify your team color. Like, it'll change the color of the gun. And if you forget to put that on, then they can just, like, say, no, we don't want your gun on the marketplace. Because the game lets you build any kind of thing you want as your gun. Like, as big as you want, as small as you want. But if it gets too big, people probably will say, no, we don't want you to have that as your gun.
Right.
If it gets too small, they'll say, no way, I can't see what you're shooting me with.
Which is nice, actually, because it allows the community to kind of set their own rules and guidelines for what's okay and
Right,
what's
exactly. And, like, they give you some pointers, like, to say, look, if you're thinking about saying no to a gun, here are some reasons why you probably should or shouldn't.
Right.
Yeah, and they're pretty comprehensive. It's pretty useful to go through, and, like, because it lets you. There's a whole section that says vote on skins or vote on guns, and you just go through and it gets updated all the time. Like, you have a whole page and you say yes or no and why. Like, it's great. Like, as of recently, you don't just say no. You say no and here's why.
Okay.
Which is great, and I think the feedback goes to the player who made it, which is great.
Before we jump into, like, you know, what the kind of what the map is like and what you can do and, you know, what type of games you can play within it, I just want to say real quick that, like you were saying, I think Team Fortress 2 and Minecraft, it's kind of like a perfect overlap. That's the perfect analogy, in my opinion. You've got the Team Fortress 2 restricted. It's not, you know, open world in the sense that Minecraft, you just keep going in one direction.
Right, it's an instance.
And the world keeps spawning. So you do have a very limited world, and you can, I mean, obviously in Team Fortress 2, you can't fall into lava off the side of the earth. But in Guncraft, you do just keep walking until you fall off the edge, and it lets you, and that counts as a death. So it's interesting because it's a spin-off between the two, and that they did, especially because obviously it's based more off Minecraft than Team Fortress. They, you know, a lot of times when you see people base a game off something, off another game, they take the route of trying to, I don't want to say cover up, but kind of avoid confrontation on the fact that they just copied a game. This isn't a copy. They're really saying, you know, like, we loved Minecraft and we wanted to add this element to it, but it's based off Minecraft, and they're sticking with that, which makes it so fun because Minecraft was so fun.
Oh yeah, like they're not being like, we're totally original. They're like, we loved playing first-person shooters, like class-based first-person shooters, and we loved playing Minecraft, and we're like, I want to be able to build a fortress and fight with my friends against, like, hordes of enemies or whatever, right? And so they made a game that lets you do that, and they don't like if you ask them, is this Minecraft and Team Fortress 2? They'd be like, they'd probably say, yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what's great about it, though, because it allows them to go into so many areas of other games and pull things from them that people love without having to say, oh, you know, we did this originally, we came up with everything, which some games do.
Exactly. Like, a lot of iOS games that pretend to be Minecraft or whatever. Like, they're like, oh, yeah, look at us. We're doing
the most original game on the iOS.
Right, and it's like, no.
We all know that this is Minecraft, and you just kind of changed a couple textures in the name.
Exactly. This is the real deal, though. They're like, we know what we are, and you're going to love it. And it's really fun.
But gameplay, what kind of stuff can we do?
Right, so the gameplay is very interesting, because obviously it has, like, some classic modes, like Deathmatch, Team Deathmatch, Capture the Flag, and even Swarm, which is or Onslaught, I think it is.
That's the best weapon.
Oh, okay.
That's my favorite weapon.
So
right
here on the screen, you can see we have terrain destruction, because this is Minecraft-ish. So anything that you see can be broken. So this guy was up there. I saw him. I used my rocket launcher to blow up the ground, and then I got him, because he just had no cover. I got rid of his cover, which is great. So over here you can see the kill cam. So if you die, whoever killed you, you see out of their eyes for like 2 seconds, which is great. Cause
Like Call of Duty.
yeah, a little like Call of Duty. It lets you scope out what they're doing, how they're playing.
You see where your vulnerabilities are and what you're not doing right.
Right. And like Call of Duty, you have iron sights. You don't exactly zoom in. You have iron sights. So it's a little bit of a visual improvement. You get to zoom in a little, but you still see the world around you. And there I go. Died.
You know what I really liked about the game is the availability of the weapons and the different options you have. You've got, I mean, and the realisticness to an extent, you know, in an 8-bit game of like the grenades. You throw a grenade, it's a grenade made of a bunch of smaller little blocks. Like if
Right.
you know in Minecraft, everything's made out of one standard size block. These grenades are made out of really little blocks, but when you blow them up, these little blocks go flying. The
Same
ground
with
goes
guns, by
flying
the
in
way.
bigger blocks. Yeah, no, definitely. And it's pretty cool to see. And the you know you can have a zipline gun. You can have a what's the
Grappling hook.
a grappling hook.
Oh, yeah.
You can shoot, pull yourself into places, and snipe people from up there. There are vehicles to drive. It's it's got
Oh,
a
yeah,
lot
like,
of availability.
There are some vehicles. Oh, like here you can see the grappling hook.
Yeah,
Zooming up.
and then
Uh,
it pulls you up there.
Yep, and I screwed up over there. but one of the nice things is there is no fall that you can't survive because you have a parachute which you can activate at any time as you're falling.
If you don't activate it, though, then you will die.
Well, right. Like if you don't activate it, you're gonna die. But and it makes you a little bit vulnerable because
You're just
you're just standing. You can't really move very much
Yeah.
while you're falling. But you can, if you have enough time, as I did over there before we cut away. You can charge up your next hook shot kind of deal.
right.
And as you're falling, you can just fly away somewhere else.
So there's like team deathmatch. That's like a classic kind of thing. There's capture the flag,
Capture the
and then
flag.
we've also got races. Right, you can get in vehicles and race people.
Right, that's
around.
something really interesting. Is that every map that you build, because you can obviously build your own
Right,
maps. just
and
like
there's also
Minecraft.
preloaded ones.
Right, they also have preloaded ones, and eventually you'll be able to share maps with people around the world. And you can't share your guns yet, but eventually people whose guns have been approved, you'll be able to actually access yourself, which is pretty cool.
Well, one thing I like, sorry, I know I've changed the topics a lot. I went from like, let's not get into this, and then I got right into it.
Yeah.
But about the guns, just back to that, you can create a gun that looks however you want, but you don't just get to say, this explodes the whole map. It's a nuclear missile gun, and it's just so OP. Like, you can't design that.
Right.
Yeah, you're basically designing the look of your gun, but
Although-
not exactly
although
its capabilities.
They are apparently going to let you alter the capabilities of the gun based on a 100-point scale. So, like, it's going to give you attributes for the gun, which start at 0, 100 points to put into those attributes. So, like, you can say accuracy, you can make that 100, or you can make that, like, 80.
You know what would be
and
really
then give 20
interesting?
for something else.
I guess the people would know that it's OP though because they'd see it if they were voting on it.
Right, like,
But
if something's clearly OP, then it can just get, like,
What would-
downvoted.
it would be cool if there was a maximum for that gun. You design the maximum, but then people can get the gun and earn points with kills and use those points to upgrade to those maximums of that gun. So depending on how like you progress through the game, and you might all have that same gun, but it might have different qualities because you've used your kills to upgrade.
I'm not sure if they are doing that.
No, I'm just saying it might be. I don't think they are. I'm just saying it'd be cool.
It's just an idea you have.
Yeah.
All right, well, maybe we'll get in touch with Exato Games.
Yeah.
But regardless, as you were saying, yeah, there's some really interesting game modes. Like as you're building a stage, you can build it like with different things in mind. You can build it for like a deathmatch stage kind of area. You can build it for like vehicle combat, or you can build it for vehicle races.
That's my favorite part of the game, especially because I get to lap you guys 5 times. But if you've ever played Mario Kart, which I pray that if you call yourself a gamer, you have. You have the little crystal blocks that you go through and you get an item.
Right.
It's got something kind of like that, and you drive around, and as you go through these boxes, you collect. You basically have a randomized weapon that'll show up and has set amount of ammo, and you can use it for a little while. Whether that's to break objects and create a shortcut through the map, because you can just break down a wall and go through that. And I know you guys were trying to do that.
Right. We were
once-
trying
once-
to,
once
which
that
is
was
why
like-
you lapped us.
No, that
5
was like
times.
after you realized I was 3 laps ahead. You were like, we got to create a shortcut quick,
Yeah.
and then it didn't work.
Although it could have with different weapons or on a different map.
Yeah.
It's possible to have created my own shortcut.
Yeah, and then you can also use those weapons to shoot down other players and stun them for 3 or 4 seconds.
Right.
There's also one part of the map we were playing on. You go up a staircase, and your vehicles can only go like up 1 block like at a time. And so what they tried to do was shoot out 1 row of blocks, so I'd have to go up 2, so I'd have to wait and rebuild 1. They didn't get all of them. I got up there, and then there's a bridge that led over a giant gap, and they tried to shoot down the bridge so that I couldn't get over the gap without waiting and rebuilding it.
Which did work.
No, I was going fast enough that I just went right over it. But it was a smart idea. So you've got a lot of strategic racing, which is kind of an interesting take on things, but it's kind of open world strategic.
Yeah, and there are also a lot of modes that sort of are reminiscent of Minecraft. Like there's one mode that is only in this kind of game, which is the goal is because there's a size to every map. Right? Every map has its own size, and that's like going out in any direction and also going up and down.
And you can fall off the edges.
Right, you can fall off the edges, or if you build down too much, you hit lava, or you just fall through the stage.
Right.
But there's also a build limit. Like there's just a point where you can't get any higher. Which is like Minecraft to an extent.
Right.
But this one mode is called Lava Survival. Lava starts off at the very, very bottom of the stage, below where you can walk.
Oh,
and it rises slowly. If you touch it, you die, just like Minecraft.
Do you respawn?
No, that's it.
Nope,
You're just
that's
done.
that's the
But when you're dead,
That's super cool.
oh yeah, when you're dead, you can fly around and destroy blocks to hinder other players.
Oh, that's messed up.
Oh, I've had some devilish fun with
That's
that.
just like encouraging trolling.
Oh,
I mean, that's like someone builds a barrier and you just take out the floor and they walk into their house and just fall right into that.
Yeah, I've done that. Absolutely, it was fun. But so what you do is you have to build up, right? You have to shoot your enemies, because the only way to earn money is to shoot your enemies and stun them, which is good because if they're stunned, then
the lava rises.
and they can die. But that also gets you money, and if you have enough money, you can build prefabs, you can build whatever you want, and you can get to the top of the map. And if you do that and you manage to stay there without like getting pushed off by an opponent or whatever, then you've won the match. That's very sort of special.
So wouldn't it be a good idea to just create a prefab that's like a million blocks
The
tall?
problem with that is that it costs a lot of money. So you have to shoot a lot of people to get
Oh,
enough
that's
money.
true. That's true.
Exactly.
Destroying blocks? Can you get money from destroying blocks in that mode?
No.
So not in that
usually
mode.
you can, but not in that mode. So lots of very cool things.
That's a cool
but
challenge.
yeah, so like we can go on and on. As you can tell, we played the game a lot. We all liked it a lot. But I think, we should tell them exactly how much we liked it. What's the rating, guys?
If I had to give it on, again, like what they're going for, I give it a 7. It has a lot of potential. They've got some things to touch up on, but it's got a lot of great potential, and I enjoyed playing it. And the online was great. It just, there's further versions will hopefully fix some of the issues.
All right, Jake?
I'm going to give it a 7.5, but with the tag note that I love this game. If you play first-person shooters or Minecraft, you will love this game, but you might get very angry because there are some problems with it. You can die really easily, but I love this game. Go buy it if you're anywhere interested in Minecraft or first-person shooters.
And just as an ode to as how easy it is to die, I got like 5 kills. I don't get kills in shooting games. Like I finished like 0-80. The fact that I killed 5 people isn't right. Like I shouldn't be able to kill 5 people. But here.
All right, Austin?
Yeah, I would also give it 7.5 out of 10. I think I'm definitely going to keep coming back to this game, and I think that it innovates the FPS genre by combining it with Minecraft, if that's the appropriate direction for it. And I think certain modes, especially Onslaught, really let it shine above other FPSs and make it something totally unique, especially the stage destruction and just how altered the map can get while we're playing. It makes it leaves a lot of room for variety, I think.
I completely agree, and I'm going to go a little bit higher than you guys. I want to say 8.5. Not because, I agree with everything you guys said, and I understand why you said 7.5, but I'm looking ahead. I'm saying, what are the updates that they're planning? How big is the community getting, day by day? And I'm seeing that I think more and more people are going to start voting for guns. The things you can do with your guns and your maps and all that stuff are going to get better with time. I think that sharing your creations with other people around the world, that's going to be a thing soon, and I think that's going to make the game a whole...
The sky's the limit for the potential it has.
Absolutely. So I'm saying 8.5.
All right.
I think that's fair too, because like you said, the community right now isn't that big, so there aren't that many servers right now, and sometimes when there are servers, the server capacity will be maybe 16 people, but there'll only be 1 or 2 people there, so as a result, game doesn't get started. But when you do get a game started, it's amazing, and if the community were bigger, then you could reliably get into any game mode you wanted and pretty much find a full server, and that would...
Yeah, and Jake and I saying that it's a 7.5 and a 7 does not mean we didn't like the game more than a 7. I enjoyed it a lot. I know Jake was attached to it like it was a 10. It's just the way that we see the game from a logical standpoint more than a emotional attachment to the game.
Right, and I'm just looking ahead, and I'm going to say 8.5.
Cool.
All right. So now that we've done all our reviews, I think it's time to see what the kids in the app are talking about games.
They got a lot to say. You want me to read?
Because we have a game section for all you who don't know. We do have a game section, so definitely look that up. It's in the chat. It's under chat, towards the bottom area. Gaming. Definitely, you guys should check that out.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and read what's been discussed in the game section of the RPlace app. So Danny said, "Would an Xbox controller work on a PC?"
All right, so I actually responded to this. The answer is yes, but with a caveat. So basically,
You need an adapter, right?
Yeah, not every Xbox 360 controller will work with Windows, but most will. If it's wired, that'll work, and if it's wireless, it'll work, but you need an adapter, like you said. So yes, but do some research.
All right.
And you also might need a driver, but if you go to the website, Microsoft will point you in the right direction.
That you can get it to work.
Right.
Just for
you
the
can
record,
totally get it to work.
PlayStation 3 works as well, and if you have Bluetooth on your computer, you can wirelessly use PlayStation 3.
And actually,
However, you would not probably want to use a PS3 controller for an FPS.
that's true.
Yeah.
But
the same thing, just flips.
No. The differences are pretty great. Like
But-
with the controller, the control stick grip, that makes a huge difference when I play FPS. I would not want to play an FPS on a PS3.
Yeah.
All right.
But in Guncraft, I used Jake's Xbox remote, his computer one, like with the USB thing on it.
Oh, you play Guncraft with the Xbox remote?
That was great. It was great. I mean,
Really?
really, give it a try if you have access to that.
Okay.
Johnny B said, "Notice to all Skyrim players: if you shoot any arrows at any NPC, I found that if you hit the girl/guy NPC no-nos, they die quicker. You're very welcome." You guys know
So,
that?
Apparently,
Thanks.
most
No
games.
nos.
So most
He
games.
put no-nos in quotes.
Most games in most games, if you shoot someone in the head, that does extra damage or
Right.
kills them outright. Apparently, in Skyrim, that's also true. But if you hit them in their particulars,
Oh, gotcha.
yeah,
I don't know if that's true.
I don't know if it's
Yeah,
true
I
either. He could
don't
just be
think
saying
that's-
things. So I guess you guys who play Skyrim are gonna have to check. Austin plays Skyrim.
I'll
right?
check when I get home.
Yeah, check when you
I
get
thought
home.
the players were called no-nos. Like, you're not supposed to do anything. Like, you're not supposed to shoot him or anything.
No.
All right, XLR9 says, "Who's tried the early access game Betrayer?"
Nope.
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 We haven't tried it, but you gotta. Oh, we have a phone call though, so let's get on with that. We'll go back to what's going on in the app soon. And who's on the line?
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, are you talking to me?
We are
Hey,
talking to you.
Swayze.
Awesome. So I love the show, and you guys are doing an excellent job, and it's very interesting, and I love the way that you're showing the screenshots from the games and everything, but I just think you should be careful about killing people. And, you
kinda
know,
hard
it
not
may
to
be all
sometimes.
fun and games, you know, in a game, but you go out of your house and think that you can behave the same way, and that you're making a big mistake.
Oh, well, of course. The world of the electronic world of video games and the real world are completely separate places, and I think all of our users understand that. Isn't that right, app users? Isn't that right?
Just because you did in the game
Okay,
doesn't make
so-
it okay.
I have a question about a more peaceful game than Minecraft murder games,
All right.
or whatever they're up to.
What are you gonna ask?
So
Weezy?
I've been. This is Wheezy, by the way.
Oh, we know.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, we know.
You may remember me from Our Place Out Loud.
Is she that one lady?
I vaguely remember.
That
Yeah,
one lady
yeah.
who
I
was
think,
like,
I know this
maybe-
person. I think.
Blonde hair, glasses.
Nah, I don't know her.
Nah, never heard of it.
Olivia?
Okay. So
No, Olivia
has
doesn't have
anybody
glasses.
played The Sims 3 Paradise Island?
Say it. Say it.
That's me. I've played it.
You have?
Is that the correct title
Like
of the
once.
game?
Wait, Weezy.
Do I have the game title correct? Paradise.
Oh, I don't know. I played it like once at my. I don't even know if it was that one. I've just played one version of Sims at my friend Devin's house once.
One version of
Okay,
Sims
well-
once at some point at someone else's house.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, Ryan's our expert then.
There's like 107 expansion packs, and one of the most recent is where your Sims live on an island or in an island community, and they're given achievements that are islandy. You get to scuba dive,
Oh man, that sounds like a blast.
which is really cool, and you get to fish, which is slightly less barbaric than killing people
Sounds like
in your little
killing animals,
Minecraft
right?
game. But you get to fish, and then you get to sell your fish, or maybe you can even cook them or plant them. I'm not sure.
Let's go planting a fish. Make a fish tree.
Because you get to garden and improve your gardening skills. But my sim was given an achievement of having to catch 3 eels and I send him scuba diving, and I cannot for the life of me find any eels. So I've gone online and I've looked for eels. Oh, there you go. Good job, Justin. Yeah, that's my sim right there. A groin injury. Mm-hmm.
Well,
So you get to scuba dive. The scuba diving world that they've created underwater is truly, yeah, there it is. It's breathtaking. So see if you can find an eel for me, because I can't find my eels, and this is the only achievement I've not been able to accomplish. So I'm very frustrated.
well, Weezy,
Wow.
I've heard that if you dangle an Our Place T-shirt out in the water, it usually attracts something.
Maybe my sim needs to be on her period. I don't know what would attract sea creatures. Is that too gross? I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
A little bit.
A
Thanks,
little
Weezy.
bit from the puberty section of the app.
Yeah. Very good.
But okay, so look it up and see if you can maybe find some cheats and hints and tips for me. Somebody said that the eels look similar to the kelp, and that's why you can't find them. But even with that in mind, I still have not been able to find any eels.
Okay.
I think that I've been given a faulty version of The Sims 3 Paradise Cove Island Adventure Retreat, and that my version does not have any eels. This is trickery.
That's definitely what it is, Weezy.
Oh yeah. We will look it up and we will let you know next time on the next show. We'll have the answer for you.
All right, thanks for being my new favorite show.
Thanks
and
for calling in.
I'll see you guys Tuesday night for Our Place Out Loud.
Very cool. See you on Tuesday.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
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 All right. Well, if any of you guys know the answer, feel free to call us too, because Weezy definitely needs help with that. You're 888-531-7171. Is that right?
Yeah. Maybe.
All right. There you go. Okay. So Lauren Nicole said, "Girl gamers," and question mark. In response to that, Green Day 41 said, "Any gamers. Gender means nothing for gaming." Lauren goes, "I was just asking if there are any gamers that are girls." Cats Go Rar says, "Well, I'm a girl. A game. I prefer not to use the term gamer girl because I don't think it matters that I'm a girl." And then there were a bunch of users who answered affirmative to that question, being gamer girls. So yeah.
Gold Z, Seagulls, Spirit, Rocket Drop It, Dream Girl, and Looking for Answers. So all of them are gamer girls on Our Place, and you can find them in the gaming section of Our Place, the app, and you can see us all on Tuesday night on the Our Place show. And thank you for tuning in to our very first episode of Our Place Games. See you next time.
I'm Ryan.
Oh, okay, let's do that.
I'm Jake.
Ryan, Jake,
Austin.
Austin, Justin, and I'm Aaron. See ya.
Bye.
Stay classy, San Diego.